Okay. Nice. Very nice. Finished. All right. So I was talking about the stimulus. And I was thinking to myself, I'm not in a privileged position to be able to say that I am very far away from like not having food. I'm not very far away from not having the financial resources if like a natural disaster happened or a medical emergency. I'm not far off from that. I do have a nice support system in that regard, but like that could go away. So it's never thought on my mind that I'm like middle class of any kind. I'm not. I'm literally not. I don't even know why I have to make that a statement. Like I'm poor. Like I'm just fucking poor. But so I was saying about the stimulus when I thought about that. Hey, this shit ain't really shit for anybody. When you think about expenses that have backed up since the like beginning of this, I really don't see how anybody considers $600 to be substantial compared to the fact that you had to get, or you were complaining about getting $1,200 because that wasn't enough. So I don't see how half is all of a sudden a beautiful thing. And as you can see, that's what this person thought as well. And I was like, all right, my friend posted the status. Let's get into the conversation. So you're gonna see my comments in a second, but for those of us on unemployment, it's a lifeline, and I'm like, damn. So the extra 300 times 11 weeks is, I did the math down there. Oh, jeez, 300 times 11 is 3,300. So let's say you at max because of your lower earnings, because you probably exhausted your year of unemployment. Let's say your lower earnings are somewhere around like 198. So you're getting 500 a week. That's for 11. That's 2 grand plus the $600 stimulus, and you get that for about 3 months. Of let's say 3 months. Yeah, 3 months. Yeah, let's. Wow. Yeah, I would say 3, 6, 9, 4, 8, 12. Oh yeah, about 2 and 3/4 months. Anyway, that doesn't matter. Um, that is assuming that you can receive unemployment benefits. That is assuming that you qualify. That is assuming that you have a system set up to receive it. That is assuming that your application has even gone through. That is assuming that you will receive back pay and they won't invalidate the claim somehow. That is assuming that your expenses are low enough to match that level as you look for more work. That is assuming that you live alone. And if you live alone in a city, like that's great and all, but like you're just getting by still. Like you're just getting by, which makes you even understand why people who are working full time jobs are still on fucking food stamps and didn't have private insurance. It's stuff like this. So I was saying that's a shit take. That's an absolute shit take. And I feel like what you're just saying is that first, you're acting like the person who posted the status. You're assuming immediately off the bat, oh, you don't get unemployment. You must be good. I haven't even started reading the comments yet. I'm just already mad about like having to even talk about this. Um, it's a crappy bill, and I understand why it's crappy from all sides points of contention. But like, don't act like just because they signed some dollars into law that you got something worth your time. Like you did not get what was worth your time. They have absolutely conned you out of your tax dollars. You barely get back anything in tax time unless you know how to rig the system. You pretty much end up owing taxes if you are owing money. So you've probably paid more into it than they gave you back this year, and all you kind of want is your tax money back. And boom, bada bing, bada boom. This is how we end up in a situation where all of a sudden crumbs are more worth it to us than actually fighting for like decent things like a living wage. If enough people don't die of hunger or starvation or homelessness or literally everything else because they can't afford it, then what you end up with is them having an example of, see, we don't need to raise the federal minimum wage. We don't need to raise wages across companies. You guys were able to make it on less than minimum wage, which means you can do it. And it's like, great. That's great. You're beautiful. And you wonder, like, why people get upset at any time or place about anything happening. It's literally like shit takes like this. I don't understand how you don't get that they gave you back a tiny portion of like what you've given them and you think it's fair. I don't see where you get this ideology that just because it's there means that that's enough. Like, you really look at this as a humanitarian task, of which you are being tasked with making sure all Americans don't go hungry and just taking care of everyone for a lull period of what, a year? Vaccine out right now, a year, a year. What are you asking? What are you asking of anyone in any way, shape, or form? What are you asking when it comes to make sure people are well taken care of? And you'll say immediately, well, that's not the situation at hand. You really think it's just, the amount agreed upon is somehow worth the time and effort that it took to get there. And here's where I have a problem with that, because we still paid taxes while this conversation was going on. Some people probably paid a lot more than $600 in taxes. Hell, even the president spent more than $600 on taxes his last return. Like, come on. So if multimillionaires is paying more than that, why are you getting back hundreds? Like, people run licks with credit cards and get more money. Like, I'm surprised that's not on the rise. Like, the economy not even real, bro. Just like make something up. The concept of money. Hey, how you doing, Anthony? We're complaining about money today. If the concept of money is something that is to be valued above, like, everybody can have it, that only exists in the thought of where it's coming from. Oh, the government's giving out free money, therefore money's not worth anything anymore. If it just kind of happened, let's just say we stopped thinking, we just printed it. We're just saying, we just printed it, and we said, okay, we're approving this much in aid and this and that, and it's gonna be a loan-free system. The market doesn't crash if you don't hand it to billionaires. The market doesn't crash. They hoard their money anyway, which stops money's value in this current economy from even growing in value. That's something they don't want to tell you. That's something, and it's like you have to come to that conclusion through obviousness. You can't come through it through like math and watching the stock market, because you're still playing with the velocity of money as though it's a real thing. But like, I'm going to show you in a second, like, poor people are less frugal with their money than rich people, even though rich people have an abundance of it. They save it more. Why is that? Because money is power. Like, just the mere thought, like, that there's certain politicians that got like 50 mil in the bank. Like, what are you spending that money on? I know where you work. Like, I know where you work. And I feel like maybe the guy who builds the cars should have a little bit more money in his pocket, because he getting you to and from work each day. Like, the people who drive the buses got to care about 60, like, at max 40, 50 lives. And they make it less than people who be sitting there on their thumbs and fingers like, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know. How much is a lot of money to poor people? It's like the question that you want to ask. So absolutely, a shit sandwich just handed to you and just like, enjoy. Enjoy. But yeah, it's nice. It's nice to get something. But if I could say it's nice to get something, then why don't I get more? Like, why don't I get more? It's like you want to advocate to get less, and that bothers me. Like, at what number do you say out loud? And I'm really talking about this person. At what number do you say it's not a lifeline, it's a slap in the face? 300? What if this. You ever read philosophy? Oh, I was a huge philosophy. First, hi, pleasure. Yeah, I love philosophy. As far as a class is concerned, I got up to like philosophy 301. I wrote my first argument, and it was like, oh no, no, that's in the book though. Damn it! Ah, you caught me. You caught me. I should read that. I'll do that today. Fuck it. I have a book full of like condensed philosophical takes, and philosophical takes, and I definitely saw that name and have not read it because I suck at reading right now. Anything but shitty Twitter threads. But yeah, if you're suggesting it, I would definitely. Is it in relation? I feel like it's in some sort of relation to that. But while I'm thinking about that, it's the thought of money as just a considerational base as to like how we help people. We could really bring everyone out of poverty, and that would just make more money. Like, yo, if rich people don't spend their money and poor people don't spend their money, then who the hell is making the money? Like, I'm starting to think that these billionaires and these millionaires and billionaires are just icons pushed up by like companies to make you think that there is a chance for wealth. Not that they select them, not no Illuminati. They get there naturally. Like, it's a natural thing. But then they're hyped up through our social media and our presence. Yeah, 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 yo, like the concept of, oh god, okay, so we're gonna talk about it because I fuck, just, yo, unemployment is such a thing. We're gonna talk about it. Fuck it, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it. Since we're here, we're here. We're here. We're here. So let's do it. The concept of money is a burdening concept on life itself. You cannot you cannot justify money as an attachment to happiness being false if you truly think about how we even got to the point of thinking that money is a key to experience. What I mean by that is, so I showed you guys my keyboard. I'm gonna show it again because I really like it. Showed you my keyboard. This keyboard functions better for me than every keyboard I've ever used. Well, because I didn't have the money to invest in this keyboard, even look for this keyboard because I thought it was too expensive, I would go with the cheaper option. The cheaper option weakened my skills. I could have been great when I was, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 at a lot of the games that I would play. But because I don't have the luxury of even being able to afford said keyboard, I don't get the experience points, if we're going to like literally talk RPG terms. I don't get the experience points to level up. I'm cramped. I used to play on a small 1920 by 1080 monitor, like 19 inches. I had to look. I had a bad computer, graphics. Like, now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't earn these things when you come to a point of being an adult or being in control of your own, job placement, living situation. But having money gives people the experience to branch out so far that even if they fail, they haven't failed at the gambit of life. They're not on a lifeline where it's like, I don't know where I'm sleeping, I don't know where I'm creating, I don't know where my next meal is coming from. They don't have burdens that exist beyond their passions because they have money. So to bring that back to what we were just talking about, hyper reality, it's almost like role playing games are too real. Because when you are in The Sims and use the motherload cheat and you just start buying stuff up and you unlock things with cheats or whatever, you don't go crazy and like expand. I mean, it depends on what type of Sims player you are, to be honest. But still, like, you buy what you want, but you'll still like make your Sims fix things. You'll still push on traits of like how you've actually lived. Even though you could just delete it and buy another one or do that, you put in the work that you don't all of a sudden become lazy. You start creating stuff in the house. You start going out to like restaurants. You start taking time to like go to vacations on different DLCs, game packs, expansion packs. And it's funny because you have the money, so your characters are free from the burden of, oh, I gotta go to work. Without that work, people don't get lazier. They get more in tune with what they want to do. Think about it this way: if because I hear this claim so often, if you're on unemployment, you're still living with your parents. If you just sit there and play games all day, you're not a productive member of society. It's how many people. So like, okay, I need an online game. Damn, I don't have one. I mean, I got a Switch here. So Pokemon Sword and Shield. That has a high player base. That had a lot of sales. All of those people had to get that money from somewhere, which means the velocity of whatever $60 is probably $60. Whatever $60 got to their hands bought that game. Or let's say in even interest bought that Switch or that Wii or that PlayStation 4. All of that is bought to gain more experience with what you like. How come that is not seen as a piece of productive means in society, the consumerist aspect of a materialistic society? Why is that not a connection made? You need people to work to buy the game because they have to earn the money to buy the thing. But once they buy it, they can't continue to work because then they cannot enjoy. They do not have the physical time. Let's say, for the sake of it, okay, let's do it like this. Quite literally. I'm streaming right now. If I had to go to work at this time, I'd make somebody else money. Now, through me, maybe I'll get the ability to make some type of money down the road. Maybe I'll get the ability to make some type of revenue from Twitch. But then it becomes how I make my money. So while I enjoy it, at the same time, I'm able to combine my passion and it becomes a pseudo job. It's not a job where it's like, damn, I got to get up and do this. It's a job where I get to pick my own time. If I had to go someplace, I'd make somebody else money and I wouldn't be able to stream at this time, which means I wouldn't have you guys in the chat. I might have somebody else. They might not be interested when they click just chatting. There's like the amount of levels of things that have to stack up to create a perfect environment, which is what I was talking about earlier. The amount of things that have to stack up to create a perfect environment are not always readily available to those who do not have the financial backing to be able to say, I'm going to take 3 days out and stream. Because you might be close to eviction if you don't get your rent money in, so you take 3 extra shifts. Time becomes so valuable that you have to sell it. If if that's the case, how can you sell video games and expect people to put enough hours into them to get their money's worth? So let's say like, okay, a game costs $60. We'll go back to the Switch. The system itself, was rare to find, so you might find a used Switch Lite for 180, and you find a regular Switch for 250. You have to work to pay that, and then you have to be able to play that at a time where I think you're at least we could assume you're not focused on playing that. You're not focused on doing this type of thing. You're not focused on enjoying the fruits of your labor because all your labor is doing is creating more labor. Now I gotta go buy a game. Now I gotta log in with my Nintendo thing. Damn, it's time to go to sleep. I didn't even really get to play. Oh, I only played 1 hour this time. It feels like a waste. So it'll just sit there because I can't really get into it because I don't have the time because I gotta go take an extra shift. I gotta do this. I got a kid. I am taking college classes. You play the role in a society fixed on money. But because they've alluded to the idea that money is so valuable it must be scarce, rich people become insanely frugal for what purpose? That's why it feels like we all poor and there's not enough tax revenue being generated because there's not enough spending, period. Rich people could spend right now, but they don't have to. Us poor people, I was gonna really say, yo, us poors. But like us low to even middle class, we don't have enough economic buying power to even remotely attack that system beneficially towards us. We can't get into that system. So it's like you'll hear people talk about, oh, buy Bitcoin, right? You know that there is a floor, a ceiling to a floor. You know there are definitely two floors to that thought of process of thought. You might have enough extra income and know where Bitcoin is going to put a little money into it and watch some growth. Let's say even $100. There are a lot of people that don't have that. So then you'll start chastising them, saying, well, maybe you should take your stimulus money and put it into Bitcoin. Is that going to get me a return that'll pay my rent for the next 3 months? Do I know that for sure? What happens if there's a crash? Like, see, there's that you can't wait it. You can't wait it. And when you try to wait these things in and you try to hold them in as like something important, what ends up happening is talking fast. Sorry, you got me on a thought. It's this magical ideology that if the rich have too much money, maybe we should fund more people to get closer to them so they can stimulate the economy. The dollar does not drop in quality if all of a sudden people are receiving it. The dollar would like gain in quality. You have to control how you push it out, of course. But in times dire like this, Federal Reserve, look, I need to give people 5 grand a month. Can we just work that out so that way people under a certain amount of dollars don't receive it, and generally the poorest of the people will have something to buy some real estate with, buy some housing, maybe fix it up, start generating income in their neighborhood. Gentrification would be cool if it came from black people. If it is why I said that way too quickly, but I live in Harlem, you know what I'm talking about. Um, I can't, yeah. Like, if minorities were given more abilities to create wealth in their own neighborhoods, that same gentrification feeling would probably happen. But other minorities from the same areas, all right, we're moving out the projects. Now we can afford to go here. And then you spruce up the projects because you have less apartments. So you make those into like big, beautiful apartment complexes or whatever. And then you keep the standards the same as far as income. Boom, you get a brand new worth of residents that would add culture and identity to it. They're not moving there for the aesthetic. They're not moving there because there's a beautiful apartment on Central Park West. Those are people who have lived in that neighborhood for 20, 30 years. Oh, I get to finally move here and see what that looks like. Oh, I get to experience my neighborhood from a different point. Scarcity in housing wouldn't doesn't exist because everybody needs a home. And if you have mad homes, you gotta house those people. So how about we first focus on the people inside the neighborhood? But that's so far from beyond the point. It's the same schism over and over. It's the same schism over and over. It's hyper reality. You're experiencing it so fast that you can't think outside of what happens because of us. Like, on one miserable end of the spectrum, you have the idea that humans created the atom bomb. So, if that's ever used, which it was, the nuclear weapon, if that's ever used, which it was, you think that's the worst humanity could get to. At the same point, we can't create a system that creates a sort of utopian dynamic for groups of people. You can still have poor people, but poor people shouldn't feel like they're poor. Does that make sense? Like, oh, I earn a meager 45,000 compared to the guy like 3 neighborhoods down that makes 450,000. But both of you are not in a situation where you're stretching your dollars. Everything's the same. You just all make, oh Jesus, sorry. You just all make more money. You make your proper wage. You make enough money that you have comfortability in being able to exist. You may not be able to be like, all right, I'm buying a new car every month, but if your car breaks down and it's too much to expend, oh, I could lease an old one without thinking, damn, I'm not gonna make rent. If I get a job offer in New Jersey and it's a 45-minute drive, but it's a 2.5 hour bus ride, oh, I can make that move. So I can earn my keep over there, maybe make some more money. And it's crazy that we think about that way. It's crazy to me that we think about it that way. So stimmy news. That one comment. That was a great one. I appreciate that. Thank you, Raka. Thank you. I appreciate it. that was a great. That was a great dissertation. I appreciate that. So yeah. So he said that for those of us on unemployment, it's a lifeline, and I was like, no. I'm like, no. First of all, no. It's the lifeline equivalent of drowning in the ocean and being tossed a rubber duck. Yeah. So he goes on to like say you may be able to ride it out, but a lot of people be forced to go to food banks and lose their roofs, and a price that is worth a bigger check for all. But that is privilege to wave a hand as you just did. No, it's not. I hate that. Like, if $600 is enough to like give you a little extra in your pocket, you got privilege. Like, no, that's not how this works. That's you can't categorize poor people by even worse off people because you're just gonna end up sliding into a scale where nothing is. If you have a house, if you have a door you can walk through, you do not deserve to complain about anything. That's how we end up here. There's always somebody else further down to look down on. When we shouldn't even care in the first place. We shouldn't even care in the first place. Like, we shouldn't even care in the first place. But we do. And it's just weird. Like, it's super weird, like, just to hear this conversation. Let me ask you a question. Without the passage of the bill, would you have gone homeless and without food? That's hyperbole. That's hyperbole. You know, by me being able to say this on Facebook, that I probably am sitting in a place where I'm not too nervous about it. But I'm probably not far away from it. I'm not so distant from it that, like, I don't get the right to complain about it. Like, who are you? Who are you to even consider that as a reasonable thought that who even, like, you're both on the same platform. If you know that you can push through without this, then that's on you. You can't look at somebody, you can't advocate for the lesser man getting less because it just might be enough. Because for a lot of people, that number isn't enough. So it saves some people, but it shrinks the rest down there, and then you have more people down there. Like, had it not been for the tiny amount of cryptocurrency I had left over going on to say that absolutely yes, I had to forego healthcare this year, same as me. He had to hang on. Goddamn, phone was ringing. So I hate this. I hate this. Had it not been, this is all I need to hear. I am the same boat as you are, but guess what? I'm not going to demand an impossible outcome and allow others to go without food and shelter. You're assuming that it grants those people who need this money that luxury. You assume that this is enough to get them there. That's crazy. That's a wild assumption. That is a wild assumption. That is so wild and so baseless that you're making it feel like you shouldn't complain about anything because you have a home. So, I snapped on him. I had no choice. Like, I was like, what I was saying is, I'm glad this got passed. Why? Because while you and I got through it, a lot of people have not and will not should this not pass. It's a shit bill thanks to Republicans. Don't do that. Don't do that. To you watching, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that shit where you say, I'm not a fan of Republicans, but I don't care. You know how men should just be nice to women and they shouldn't look at it as cookie points or rewards or anything like that? I just chucked something. I don't know what it was, but I just chucked something. Like, I'm gonna find it eventually, but I definitely just chucked something like deep across. Anyway, Me saying I'm happy it passes not in any way praise the bill. It's literally praising the bill. I hate that because what you're trying to do is you're trying to conflate mixed meanings. You're trying to say I don't like it, but I'm proud. I'm happy it's there for some people. You can't have a 50% I like it because it helps people, but I don't like it because it doesn't help enough people because you're already at the point of where it's. Oh, okay. Sorry. Um, yeah, that threw me off. Yeah, but in the raw sense, there are a lot of poor, run over people who out there who wonder if they can eat a damn meal, sleep in a warm place. Let the battle continue, but not at the expense of them. Again, you're assuming that this unlocks that for them. You're assuming that this moves them forward in some type of position or place where they will feel comfortable in even doing that. No, 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 no. You can't assume that. Because if you assume that, you could assume a little bit lower helps. If you assume that nothing, then you're gonna end up with, well, at least they got $10, that could help. Or is that the number where the limit hits and you're like, that doesn't help anybody. This doesn't help anybody. I know people who would be homeless if they didn't have the extra unemployment and a $600 stimulus. I know people who couldn't get through with the $600 on top of your unemployment plus the $1,200 stimulus that they probably never even received. Like you're still conflating price to like we just had a whole 30-minute conversation on it. I'm not doing it again. But you're assuming a lot with that argument. So the moment he said that, I was like, I bet. I'ma pull up. How you doing? You wanted my attention? Well, now you got it. How you doing? You doing okay? You doing all right? Hello, it's me. I've come here to shit on your existence. So let's fucking go. So, I was like, so crumbs are okay. Got it. The moment he replied, I knew I had him. This isn't crumbs for a lot of people. What's the number? What's the number? What where do we fit in this number? What's the number? What how many people is this helping? Because if you can't prove that it helps more people than it hurts, then what point are you arguing? So I said that literally. See, the income disparity means poor people will have even poorer people to feel sorry for, which in turn means whatever we get is a win. I literally said that in way longer form just now. I apologize for repeating myself. Thanks for your college level term. I know people who have had to negotiate with lenders and landlords while we waited to see if unemployment plus 300 would continue. You're well. I didn't get a $2,000 check means jack shit to them when that was never possible under the current Congress. I never said any of that. I never even gave a number. I said so crumbs are okay. Maybe $700 isn't crumbs. Maybe 800. Maybe not $1,999.99 isn't crumbs. I never said 2 grand. As a matter of fact, he was the one who said 2 grand. So that's projection. And then I misspelled though, and I didn't feel like editing it because it was late at night. Oh, college man, college term. Whoa, college term. You know how to speak. You speak. You speak English. I didn't know black people spoke English. Like, yo, the one thing I can't stand when I be on the internet, and sometimes I know it's trolls. Like, sometimes I know it's just trolls, and I gotta really stop getting into like the big fights with them. But yo, don't 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 hyper don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. Please don't. Don't do that to anybody. Don't say, "Oh, you're trying to talk in intelligence speak." Like I know men do that to like women and in general online discussions to make them seem smarter. But if I'm using colloquialisms and then I like say a word, please don't belittle what I've said because it sounds not colloquial. Like I'm sorry I don't add LMAO and 6 emojis to everything. You are dead ass writing like he's writing ellipses, random sentences, long. You're over here typing like this is an essay. Come on, don't depress me when I'm already talking about some shit that's depressing. Like, don't do that. Please don't do that. So, my argument was crystal clear that this is a lifeline for a lot of people. Again, that brings us back to the assumption point. It doesn't matter what you give people, they still win, which is stupid. Like, if that's the case, then why are we worried about them giving anything at all? Like, you just made the argument for us. Yo, I'm so tight. Why? Get out of my face. Like, you are so dull. You are so dull. You are so dull, bro. Like your personality is shit. Oh, to step back and want to analyze the socioeconomic inequalities of if it were a college essay where actual people are on the link of are literally on the brink of losing food, heat, their property in general is hardly a meaningful reply. Pick the battles and fight them. What are you doing? You are dismissing the anguish of everyone else for another group of anyone else. Like, and this shit don't. The irony of this don't fall on them. The irony of this never falls on them. And I'd be sitting there like, but why? But why? But literally, why? Why are you like this? Why are you? Why do you do this? And you do it all the time. You do that shit all the time, man. And I hate it. I hate it so much because it's so corny. Um, the argument I think you're making is helping people to get their quiz to function for 95% of the. Okay, so he gets personal here. Yeah, I worked with him, and a solid chunk of the money I was making that 2019 came from him, and 2020 was supposed to be. We were supposed to have bank this year. I was gonna get a car type shit because I was tired of like ordering Ubers to weddings, just having a joint car because I probably wouldn't even drive it that much. Um, and yeah, like because of government restrictions, we can't work weddings, we can't do studio shoots. So it's like fuck. He lives in the hood of Harlem and is willing to inject shit to help me. That I mean, damn, bro, I'm putting a little bit too much of my shit out there, but okay. Um, yeah, what people? They're gonna be on the streets lining up for food banks in a few weeks, despite the bill. So then he tried to do this breakdown shit. I ain't gonna read it because I got pissed off at this point, and I was like, I bet we pulling up with. I'm a. If you ever see me on a thread on Facebook, if for some reason my name pops up and you're like, oh, that's the guy from Twitch, Bro, Brody, Brody, I promise you, I promise you. Oh, I have mad dropped frames. What happened? What was going on there? I'm sorry, saw that I dropped frames. Yo, Brody, I swear to God. All right. So this is the first comment I made when I already said it earlier. You know, not everyone even got the first stim check. So what are you fucking talking about? Does that so? What does the bring to you? Do you think $600 in the long game saves someone even a month's worth of rent, heat, and food? So then, this is where I got like pissy with him. And I'm going to show you his reply to show you why I don't like online discourse. So I broke down his entire comment all the way down to the bottom because he's like, to say this only helps a few people is a joke when the alternative was nothing until Congress adjourned again. Which could have taken as well in January. Something is better than nothing when those are the alternatives. That's how you get neoliberals versus fascists. You will side with the ruling party that doesn't outwardly like want to hurt you. You will be grateful for anything they do because they could do nothing. That don't sound like weird to you. That doesn't sound apoplectic to you. That doesn't bother you in any way, shape, or form. To which they will easily say, no. So then I'll say, these are, what are these? Caramel waffle cookies. These are amazing. I need to buy these. I need to buy these real bad. I'll show you the package if I didn't rip it too badly. Waffle cookies. These are insane. They've got like syrup inside them. But yeah, so that's how you get neoliberals versus fascists. Like, you'll side with the party that won't do you the worst harm. So both the parties shift to the right because there's so much room for like control. But then you'd be mad and be like, the government wants to control us at the same time as the government is great for giving us anything that they can. Like, you surrender that control, but then you act like anything that affects you personally is an infringement on that control. But you signed up for that when you came here. You just thought it wasn't going to happen to you. That's cool. All right, so again, ain't even put any SNAP, no extra food stamps, none of that, which again brings me back to the velocity of money and the idea that poor people are less frugal with their money, even though rich people have an abundance of it, which makes no sense at all. And when you need to spend money on, so anyway, the great explanation about that is when you need to spend money on something, you'll wait until the absolute last minute so you have control over it, but yet you still spend the majority of your money on things that you need because you only have a little bit of it. Rich people have 50 to 100,000 times as much money as you have, and they spend less of that. Now, this could go into the easy point of, well, they could have recurring costs. They make income, so they don't feel like they need anything all the time. But they have the ability to get whatever they want and replace whatever they want. So the fact that they don't spend it means that there is a spending limit on how much you do need to survive. And we should be focused on that as the attenuated goal for all people in America so that way we're able to move forward without spending ridiculous amounts of money for aid and stuff when we could be focusing more on the American consul itself. That's a lot of words. For being poor in America shouldn't be a thing if we're the richest country in the world. And this is just showing us, like, there are citizens that don't get that pass, which is crazy because I thought we were all citizens. Like, especially at this time. Pandemic, we need people to spend money, bet. Like, half the money's going to the trillionaires anyway. So if they're not spending it, we're never getting it back. Therefore, just give us more money. Just give us literally more money. We'll give it to the billionaires, and they'll increase their wealth. But we also won't feel like, damn, we don't got nothing. Win-win. Trillionaires existing is a problem. Billionaires existing is a problem. Even to some sort of state, mega millionaires are a problem. All of those wouldn't be a problem if the bottom floor also had a way to get there through just pure work, merit, and ethic without exploiting. Damn. Fucking up all the words. Let's try that again. Trillionaires, billionaires, and even mega millionaires are not a problem if there was a way for the lower class, the bottom half of America, to also attenuate the same amount of wealth without exploitation of labor. When you show me a society like that, then we'll move forward into talking about space travel and how humans are destroying the planet and how we need to make sure the planet stays so we can stay here as a species. Way to stick to the substance of what I wrote. That is the substance of what you wrote. You're happy that Congress gave you something. Congress is made up of Democrats, independents, and Republicans. Some are far right. Some Democrats are center left by other standards, but pretty much left here. Therefore, it is fair to make a leap into how we ended up here with our two governing system. A group of neoliberals on top of some progressives and a bunch of fascists who don't care about the American value of democracy because they're in power and they can do stuff with that power. I'm confused as to how you didn't know how I got there. You didn't even bother to read or respond to anything I wrote in any meaningful way. Yes, I did. It's just not meaningful to you because you were looking for a college essay dissertation, which when you said up there, college word, I thought you didn't want that. See, you don't even know what you want, bro. I didn't even read that last comment. You have plenty of time to wage your battles, but tell me why would have been better for the bill to die with the Senate still under Republican leadership. Because yet again, you are at the crossroads of thought. You cannot both advocate for things being better because for things being better, knowing that they won't be, and then not be upset because you got a shitty end of the deal because you would have gotten nothing if you would have held your guns. Like, you can't have it both ways. You can't you can't be complacent with whatever they give you and also not like the fact of like what they gave you. Like that's not fair to yourself. And that hurt, like, you're stupid. So it's really weird to discuss privilege when we're on Facebook. I quite literally broke down your entire comment. And the moment you tell me that I didn't, I'm sitting there like, damn, I really wasted my time clicking my keys. I was really on the type shit. All right. There's comments in public, so whatever. Yeah, you have plenty of time to, like, you keep saying millions is the bill being signed and pushed through means it's automatic for all. Like, you don't know if there could be a stall. There could be people who don't receive it. Issues that go on. Got to get a call in. Got to push for this. Got to push for that. Like, you're readily assuming something because you want to believe it's true. So then I said, if it's like you want to be the guy who says, yay, something for those who need it. So how about for those who need it, they get that, and the people who don't get less? Like, what argument do you want me to make? What do you want me to say at this point? How do you want me to say it? What are you even asking me to do if that's the case? Like, what do you want me to do here? You don't want me to advocate for more because more would have meant nothing, but at the same time you don't want me to argue about little because it's better than nothing. Like, what? I've called EDD. I don't know what that is. You're definitely Ed, so there's that. But Google this. Employment Development Department. I don't know why you brought that up. Is that your unemployment office? I guess. And if not, does that? I'm helping a friend get what she is owed. Does that mean I want everyone affected off unemployment? Absolutely not. Do you? Did I say that? Did I even remotely argue that we shouldn't be getting anything? Or isn't that you? Oh my god. And if not, how exactly under the current Republican controlled Senate would you ever think a $2,000 check would have been passed? Is that not funny to you? You're like, yo, that if we ask for too much money, they won't give it, so we should ask for less. Like, then why don't you just ask for nothing? Like, why don't you just ask for nothing then? What? Hey, you say this with confidence. Hey, that's why I'm down to debate some conservatives because this is conservatives are this argument in hyperscape, like 5 times forward with that shit. Like, what do you want from me? What do you want from me? What how do I even remotely begin to attack this from a direction that doesn't make you feel like I'm being gratuitous by just talking to you? Like, the Republicans wanted no stimulus checks. So tell me, soon to be mayor, how exactly would you have overturned their majority? Oh, you understand the rules. So here's what we do. And it's already happening, so I'm glad that like I had this thought earlier cuz I would have looked stupid if this didn't happen. So the House voted today to increase the $600 check to 2,000. Great. Great. What I think should have happened is we should have got that 1,200, and the House should have increased or gave like an extra $1,200 payment for 24. Now I know what you're thinking. Like, that's not playing against his statement, but you're asking me to do something in a rhetorically impossible sense. I get that they're in control and they don't want it. The problem is that they're in control and they don't want it. You can't be happy with what they give you and understand that it's only that way because of deliberate action and not because of like things that we can't afford or things that we can't do. You can't have it both ways where you understand the corruption and then agree with the result of said corruption. Like, that's Andy shit. That's you're physically making yourself force this puzzle together because that's how it makes sense to you. So I just laughed it. There are two Senate seats up for grabs soon. Again, pick your battles. Now this becomes a Senate issue. If they would have passed it, the Republicans would have just won. You don't understand how dumb you sound. Like, that's when I know that this conversation goes nowhere. Right there, right, right there. Once I see you start saying stuff that's like contradictory to itself, you lost me, brother. You lost me, brother. You've lost me, and you know you lost me. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? So that was a fun thread.